If a guy has a higher sex drive than a woman, should she allow him to get it somewhere else if she doesn't want to fulfill it herself?
Perhaps he has a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
And you're after that. Make that clear. Say, look, I'm a selfish bitch. I'm a gold digger. I like money. If you want me, you need to put your money on the table. But be real.
If he's had sex with a guy before.
What?
Crimson red flag. Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I have a great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we talk about all things dating and see if we can use what we've got to attract the kind of person we want. So without further ado, please welcome Christine back to the show.
Hello.
How are we today?
Very, very good. Yeah, good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you. We've got a slightly new setup since you've been back.
Yes, definitely moving on up.
I think I took some cues from like the neon lights. I was like, I need to make it a bit more sexy.
Oh, I literally just noticed them.
It had to be done. Exactly. See, it works. Just hiding in plain sight.
I like.
Hiding in plain sight. So I always like to jump in. So to start with, tell us your age or your age range. If you don't want to share with us your age. And tell us one thing about you a guy should know if he wants to take you on a date.
Age 22. And one thing a guy should know about me would be I love sushi.
You love sushi?
I love sushi.
Ever been on a first date to like a sushi place?
No.
No?
Not a first date. I have been on a date to a sushi place.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Did that make him go
Jackpot.
up in your books?
100%.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he know you like sushi or was it literally just stroke of luck?
It was so long ago now, I can't even remember. Actually, I think that might have been one of the first times that I tried it.
Oh.
So yeah.
And you're like, this is ace.
Yeah. I mean, I basically love soy sauce. I do have to drench it in soy sauce.
Okay.
So some might argue you don't like sushi, you just like soy sauce.
You just like the soy sauce. And sushi is the excuse to apply as much soy sauce as you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. So it's interesting because you've had a lot of growth in yourself from the past 6 to 9 to 12 months.
Yes.
Like I remember, when we chatted however many months ago.
Yeah.
And, you were kind of in an unhelpful relationship situation.
Yeah.
And then we would talk about, how to attract the kind of guy you want and how to best go through that. And since then, you've grown romantically, personally. What do you think is a principle you have now for yourself that you didn't before?
I really believe, not to get all hippie about it, but I really believe a lot of it is to do with where you're putting your energy. So obviously I got out of the unhelpful relationship that I was in. I realized I spent a lot of time waiting around for something that I was hoping was going to develop, but I wasn't actually getting what I wanted from it. So that obviously ended. So that was a bunch of energy that I was sort of getting back for myself. I had a bunch of friends that it was kind of an unhealthy friendship. So it was often, me asking them, do you want to meet up? And like constantly reaching out, checking in, how are you? And never really getting anything back.
Yeah.
And it was the same kind of thing. I just sort of realized, I don't really think they care about me, which sounds quite harsh, but actually it was kind of rejuvenating to admit that to myself, because I basically put it to them, this is how I feel, and they kind of confirmed, which some might say, well, that's heartbreaking to go to someone like, look, I know you don't really care about me, and them to go, yeah, pretty much, like, we don't.
Wow.
But it was really freeing because I said, okay, well now, like, I was kind of grateful for it because I was like, well, now I know where I'm wasting my energy. So, the unhelpful relationship gone, the unhelpful friendship's gone. And then literally as soon as that happened.
Yes, you were saying when you let go of the unhelpful relationship, unhelpful friendships, and then what happened?
Well, it kind of seemed like miraculously everything fell into place, but I don't believe in coincidences, and I don't really think it was an accident that as soon as I let go of things that I was potentially wasting my energy into, other good horizons started opening up. And obviously during that time we had a session together.
Yeah.
And I spoke to you about what I had learned from the unhelpful relationship in particular.
Yes. And
how I wanted your advice to take what I had learned and use it to then attract what I knew I wanted.
And I think especially for a lot of women, it can be hard to confront certain relationships with people, being like, I'm not feeling this from you, etc. Not just with friendship, but with guys, etc. So where did you find the courage for yourself? You know, because, you know, you're still a young woman, you know, by adult standards,
Yes,
inexperienced in life.
Oh, yeah.
So where did you have the courage to approach to your friends and be like, look, this is what I'm feeling. I don't know if this is working for me, and your boyfriend at the time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, let's not sit here and deny the fact that often courage comes from a lot of pain. And I feel like, you know, it's that old saying, it either makes you or breaks you. And I know that's a lot easier said than done. And as I said, you know, confronting something like that and potentially facing rejection is rough. It's really rough.
Yeah.
I think another factor of context that's probably relevant to mention is I was on the journey of finding my biological family at the time. So unfortunately, I went through a hell of a lot of rejection in that process as well. So I guess I kind of figured, well, you know, whilst I'm in my phase of being rejected, why don't we just dive all in? And I honestly think that's the answer to most things, is when things feel rough, if you can take the responsibility onto yourself to make it rougher, it means everything is within your control.
Amen.
And, you know, if you dive down into the deep, chances are you'll come back up with some gold. So it might suck and it will really, really hurt. But what goes down must come back up, right? What goes up must come down. So that's the way that I see it. So it was just kind of, you know, you get to a point where you're in a lot of pain and you're fed up, and you can either decide like, I'm fed up and I'm going to distract myself from the pain. Or you can go, do you know what? While I'm here, what else is going on that I could potentially sort out? And like I say, I get that that's rough. A lot of people don't want to load more pain onto themselves when they're already suffering. But the way I see it is like, if you can get it all in one burst.
Get it all out,
Get it all out. Get it all done in one go. And then you can just move on. And for me, it really was a huge drastic change. You know, I've made amazing friends. I'm literally now living my dream in terms of career. A career I didn't even know I particularly wanted, but has just completely, you know, fulfilled every kind of passion that I've ever had. So for me, the evidence that throwing yourself all into the pain really works, for me, the evidence is there. So, you know.
Yeah, it's funny.
Use at your own risk.
Yeah.
I take no liability or damages for any pain that you might endure during this time.
You see, her political kind of disclaimer has also come along as well. No, you're so right. And it's funny because, you know, Jordan Peterson says that, you know, life is suffering.
Yes.
But we can bear the suffering when we find meaning in it.
Yeah.
And so kind of...
And he says about the dragon hoards gold. He goes, well, what does the dragon represent? Everything you're afraid of. And that video, actually in particular, that little clip from that speech is what really got me through that time. Because it's like, you'd be sat there, and, you know, let's be completely real, I'd be sat there crying my eyes out like, no one likes me. No one loves me. I've been rejected by everything I know, left, right and center. But just that little saying, what does the dragon represent? Everything you're afraid of. And what's everything you're afraid of? Well, it's everything you need to know. And I'm just like, that is it. Like, it's so true.
It's so true. And especially, you know, it just reminds me of this saying of, the brave man isn't the man who's not afraid of anything. It's the one who does it despite being afraid.
Yes, 100%.
That's literally the definition of courage.
Yeah, right? and it's all about taking the load of the world onto your own shoulders. Because the way I see it, if you... It's like that idea, if someone does something to hurt you, who holds the burden? The person who did the inflicting of the pain, or you for feeling the pain? And I like to see it as everything is my responsibility. And a lot of people hate that because a lot of people go through some really awful shit.
Yes.
Now, you know, I've probably not been through the amount of shit that other people have, but I'm still a human being. I've been through my own fair amount of shit, right?
I think even compared to the average person, you've been through more shit than them, for sure. In today's society,
it's you know, everyone has their own opinion. However, if I take responsibility for every situation and say, do you know what, the control lies within how I feel about this, then that means everything is within my control.
Yes.
Whereas if I say, well, they've hurt me and, you know, I can't believe this happened to me and I can't believe they would do something like this. Well, that means they have all the power. And I can't control how I feel about that because it gives them the power of what's happened.
Exactly.
Whereas if I say, well, do you know what, I get to control how I feel about this, then it puts me in the ultimate powerful position over my life because I get to control whether it affects me or not.
Yes, exactly. And I think I think it's really important to make it clear that yes, we aren't in control of what other people do to us.
No.
But of course, how we respond to it and how we let that affect our lives is completely within our own agency.
Yeah. And it's not to say like, oh, well, if something bad happens to me, I don't feel it. I just let it brush off me. Of course, but it's all about how you handle that pain, how you compartmentalize it in your brain, and how you then use it to either fuel you or kill you.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, we're all afraid of pain. What do you think most women are afraid of in regards to with men and like their love lives and dating? Like when they're dating a guy, what do you think is some of their biggest fears?
I would say trust is a big one.
Okay.
At least for me as well, and a lot of my friends, I would say, fear of things like infidelity is often a big one. I've heard this a lot, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. But I've heard a lot the idea of a guy can say one thing and mean the other. But the reason I don't agree with that is because I think women do that more than men. I think we say more of, I think this, but actually we mean something else. And
well, it can be true for both.
It can be true for both, of course. But I at least from the experience of men, majority of men within my life, men tend to say what they mean. And I just think, unfortunately, women tend to infer a lot of our own emotions sometimes onto what men mean.
What do you think is the most common thing women infer on the men that they're with?
Insecurity. So this is a very common one, and I've been guilty of it myself. I'm not claiming to be a saint here.
Yeah.
Say a guy is going out with his friends, and that might invoke some kind of insecurity. What if something happens? Like, what if he meets a girl or something? So then you might project onto them, oh, he's using this as an excuse to go out and meet girls instead of he wants to go hang out with his friends.
Yes.
And then that can cause tension throughout the night. Yep. And then the girl brews, resentment builds up. Yeah. Chances are you send a long paragraph whilst he's out. And then, he comes back and then you argue, and then again, more projection happens because you could start projecting, well, he's come back and he's in a mood with me. Maybe he's annoyed because he's had to come home, or, maybe he's met someone else, he doesn't like me. It's like, no, really, you've just been giving him shit all night and he wanted to go out and have fun with his friends, and you've done this. I mean,
it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, I don't want to push him away if that did happen, but then I have all this pent-up emotion that I want to release.
Yeah, and it's hard, but it's all about just being aware of your nature as a female. We are more emotional, and, that might happen regardless of how aware you are, but at least if you're aware of it, you can acknowledge it and understand a bit more how the guy feels. Because I think a lot of the time, issues that happen is, not all of them, of course, but in this particular scenario, it's a woman being unaware of her ability to project, because we can do it so well. We have to. It's a biological instinct, right? We have to be able to project potential dangers and things around children. So we can't really help that we are like that.
Yes.
If you're aware of it, you might perhaps not send that text at 2 a.m.
Yes.
The big paragraph of how you feel.
Yeah.
You might be able to, say, distract yourself a bit better whilst he is out, because you can sort of recognize, I have this instinct, I have this feeling. And I think something that not a lot of women get told these days is not every single one of your feelings has to be validated.
I hear that.
Not every single feeling is a message from the gods and a premonition, right? Yeah. This is not to dispute females have amazing instincts, right? We can sense things that a lot of men can't sense.
Very true.
However, not every feeling or inclination is a message, and not all of it matters. At the end of the day, feelings are temporary. They come and go.
Yeah.
They don't matter that much as, say, an actual conversation. If the guy had stood there and gone, I'm going out to cheat on you,
of course.
Absolutely justified, right?
I completely get what you're saying, and I think the awareness is important. I do think what helps her, I think when you're with a partner that you love and they love you, especially for men, I think part of how men show their love is caring for her emotions and her feelings. Yes. Even if there's some things he's like, that's just not justified to him. In that situation in particular, I think if she has the awareness and she communicates, hey, I know you're going out with your friends and stuff, just a message every couple of hours, I'd really appreciate just handling it. That's not me putting my insecurities as a responsibility on you, but it's about
I think that disclaimer is particularly relevant that you're aware that it's coming from insecurity. And I don't know, I'm not a guy, but I would like to think that guys would at least appreciate you recognizing that.
Oh, 100%. I would 100% say that. But I also think if a guy cares about her, just making a little bit of effort to help her handle and manage.
Yeah, I think in a healthy relationship, the guy's not just going to go out and then not text you the whole night anyway. Yeah. I think it's, you know, even if they don't, like, if you say message at, I don't know, a particular time when you thought they might be back, like, when are you coming home? Like, I think good guys will say, like, I'll be back at this time. Like, but it's just the prying that I don't think is necessary. If you're then like, well, where are you? And what are you doing? And, you know, who are you with? Then it's like, okay, well, can you for a second realize how that might be irritating? Because I can guarantee you if the situation was switched, the girl, likely being drunk, would tell all of her friends that he's saying, where are you, who you with, and they'd all be going, what a toxic narcissistic abuser. Oh my God, he's so controlling.
Yeah, it's so controlling.
So it's just about recognition and awareness that sometimes we feel insecure, and that's fine. But we don't need to make it other people's problems, because your insecurities are your issue. And you know, of course, it's the responsibility of your partner to help you when you're low. But ultimately, you know, how you're feeling due to those insecurities, yes, the partner can help, but it's not the partner's responsibility to soothe your insecurities.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when a partner, guy or girl, we're saying go in this sense, when she's texting him like, where are you, what are you doing, who are you with, she's actually communicating that she has an insecurity, just very indirectly.
Yes.
She's not saying, hey, I'm a bit insecure about this and I would like some reassurance.
And I think that infuriates men because...
Well, I think a lot of guys don't see that.
They don't see it. And I think even like with guys that perhaps know what's happening there, because guys are so straightforward. Again, I'm inferring, I'm not a guy, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Go for it.
I just think that some guys can gather that that's insecurity and she's projecting, and I think that infuriates them more, because guys are so straightforward that they would much rather you just be like, hey, look, I feel really insecure right now and I'm panicking, can you please just give me some kind of reassurance? But then I feel like girls probably fear like, oh, if I say that, he's going to think I'm weak and I'm insecure and all of this. So it's just a really messy situation with insecurities.
What I think this is a perfect example of what I call the male language and the female language.
Yes.
And the male language, like you said, is very direct. And the female language, a lot of the time, is very indirect.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So a girl may not outright say, hey, I like you, but she'll be making more eye contact.
Yes.
She'll be looking at you when she's taking a sip from her drink, all this stuff. A guy might actually come up and try and talk to you.
Yes.
Right? And I think if men and women could better understand the other gender's language, I think that would help a lot of people. So you're completely right. A guy would get frustrated. And I've been guilty of this in the past. I've been like, why can't she just communicate to me how I communicate?
Yeah.
But she's a woman.
Yes.
And I love that she's a woman. So it's like part of that might mean that she's going to communicate in the female language. Now, I think if we both make an effort to communicate in the other person's language, that's where you find the harmony.
You can find a happy medium.
Exactly. But I think in that example, I'd say yes, if she had the awareness to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. But also if he can have that level of, oh, this is what she's actually telling me. Do you know what I mean? Because she may be acting in that sense because of how she's feeling in the moment. But if he comes back and he goes, hey, babe, I just kind of recognized this from you. And it kind of felt that you were a little bit unsure and need some reassurance. Is that what that was? And she goes, you know what, babe, it was. And actually, maybe I was,
I think it's a dangerous territory, that.
Why?
Because it's all about awareness, isn't it? If someone is aware of their insecurities, then it will go exactly how you just said. But how many people are really, truly so aware of their insecurities that they would respond like that? Because chances are, when you start picking away at someone's insecurities, it's like picking away at a scab. You're opening up the wound. So if he was to come back and do all of that, some females who are unaware perhaps of their insecurities might start to put up the wall.
I agree, but then I would say in that case, that's a lack of emotional maturity on
100%.
her part.
100%.
If he comes back and he's, because, if we're saying this, the typical of, oh, he's taking leadership in that sense and he's recognizing this insecurity. He's taking leadership being, hey, I recognize this, talk to me what's going on. And then she goes, no, but.
Yeah.
Then for him, he's like, okay, cool. She's not
It's a clear sign.
on that frequency.
Yes.
That I need her to be for this to work.
100%. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's take a shift. I want to ask you something. Obviously, as you've grown in yourself, have you found that you've gotten more male attention from different avenues? And if so, how do you handle that?
Yeah. A majority of my audience, I guess, is male because of the kind of issues that I talk about. I've been pretty lucky though. None of it's been too creepy. I mean, pretty much all of my audience knows I'm in a relationship, and it's quite sweet actually because people are quite respectful of that. Like if I do get a comment here or there that's a bit borderline,
yes.
I'll see other comments where people are like, she's taken.
Yeah.
Which is really nice that people are doing things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I don't really handle it because
you don't need to.
People generally tend to come to my support anyway.
Yeah. That's really good. It's funny. That reminds me of like Ayesha Curry, Steph Curry's wife. Do you know Steph Curry, NBA player?
No.
So basically, like he's like all the guys would be like, "What? How do you not know who?" He's like he's like the Neymar of NBA right now. He's like the best shooter of all time. And he's like the.
So you talk about football. I know what you're on about. NBA, not a clue.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because so him and his wife, they've been together for years. They've been together since high school or whatever. And she's got the perfect girl's life. Like she's with this guy. He's committed to her, loves her. He's become one of the best NBA players of all time. She's living that life. She has the ring, the house, the name, the kids, everything. And there was a point over the past few years, she's complained about how, because he gets so much attention, obviously. And she's like, no guys like ever give me attention or whatever. Like, why aren't guys giving me attention?
Yeah.
And yeah, she's an attractive woman, but the guy that she was having an interview with, I think it was Charlemagne, was like, it's because people respect him and your relationship that they're not doing that with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not because you're not attractive.
Yeah.
It's because they have respect for your relationship and kind of what you both represent.
Yeah, and I think that's really beautiful, isn't it? I mean, that's why, when you ask, like, how do I handle it? It's like I kind of don't feel a need to handle anything because, so far, I'm very in the early stages of, say, like, being on YouTube, things like that.
Yeah, of course.
But so far, I've been so respected. So...
What do you think? Because there are some girls and commentators who, might be like yourself in that space, kind of young, attractive in the game, all of this stuff.
Thanks.
And no, it's good. I mean, say how it is. But they will get a lot of guys pining for them and stuff.
Even if they're in a relationship, you think?
I think it depends. It probably depends on how they present
themselves. Yeah.
And this is what I was going to ask. Like, what do you think the difference is between you and maybe like the other girl who's doing lifestyle and stuff, where guys are like thirsting over her and they're still like trying it with her?
I mean, look, I hate to say it because it's always a touchy subject, but it's like things like the whole like lifestyle vloggers type content creators. It's all about aesthetics, isn't it? And part of that is about how you present yourself. Now, I like to look presentable. I'm not going to come on and do a video in my PJs and with my hair half like around my head and all of that. Like, I wear makeup. I like to look presentable. Yeah. If I'm staying at my mum and dad's and I come downstairs like first thing in the morning, they're like, hope you're not going on the telly looking like that. Like, I like to look fairly presentable.
Yeah, of course.
But I think there's a slight difference, and it's also the kind of content. So like the lifestyle and that, it's all about how you look. And I think when you focus on how everything looks, even if it's not necessarily like beauty, makeup, and hair aesthetics, when everything about your brand is about aesthetics, it's kind of guilt by association. People are bound to start looking at the aesthetics as you. And I think a lot of what I talk about is quite what's the word? It's intangible, right? It's things like political issues, social issues. You can give it tangible things, stats, all of that, but it's very much a broad conversation.
Yeah.
You know, nothing is attached necessarily, majority of the time, to a person. It's all very...
It's like you've got a topic and you've got a subject that you're kind of commentating on.
Yes, yeah. And I think perhaps because of that, I don't know how people receive me, right?
Yeah.
I just do what I do, and if people like it, great. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
But I think because of that, people are probably, I don't know. I reckon that people are probably less interested in what I look like. And more what I have to say. At least I would hope. I mean, I think I saw a comment once, and it was someone made a comment about how I look, and I think someone else came to my defense and said, like, are you even trying to listen to what she's saying? And that was quite nice, because I was like, yeah, like I care about what I have to say.
Yes.
I care about how I look to a certain degree, because like I say, like, I like to be presentable. Like, my parents raised me to be a presentable individual when I went to school, you know, can't have hair flying about the place. Like, look the part.
Yeah.
But I do that so that what I'm saying can be received well, and it's about what I'm saying. And I think when you're a content creator that you have something to say, people are more inclined to listen than to look. So perhaps that's why I've been lucky enough not to have kind of overwhelming male attention.
Yeah, I think the aesthetic part is a big thing.
Yeah.
Big thing. Because even if, you know, female content creators have stuff to say, if they're out here with their cleavage out.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Like 60 to 70% of your viewership is because you're out here with your cleavage out.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? They may be listening subliminally, but they're just watching and be like, rah, she's fit. Like, I wonder if she has a man. Even if she does, I'm still going to shoot my shot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's male nature, isn't it? We talk about female nature. It's male nature. Men can't help, like,
they seek sexual opportunity.
Yes, and if you're creating that sexual opportunity...
or perceived opportunity.
Perceived, yes, very much.
Yeah.
Good word to put in there. But yeah, if you're kind of putting that out there, then you are going to get more of that kind of attention.
Yeah, of course. What's something you want to bring to conversations? Is there something you want to ask or talk about today?
I'm not too sure. I kind of came here pretty open-minded today, because so much has sort of happened since I last came here.
Yeah, of course. Sorry if you haven't. I've got something else, but I want to open the floor to you.
Go ahead.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Okay. This might cause some contention. If a guy has a higher sex drive than a woman, should she allow him to get it somewhere else if she doesn't want to fulfill it herself?
If she doesn't want to fulfill it herself, yeah.
Yeah, she should be like, okay, babe. You know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's all about that control thing that I'm talking about. You get to control how you feel about something. And if you've decided you're not okay with that, well, who are you to imprison someone else?
It's a fair point. I guess the argument would be, oh, but we're in this committed relationship, and part of the commitment is not having sex with anyone else. So, like, why should I?
Part of the commitment is also committing to each other to make each other happy. And do we not receive happiness from sexual pleasure?
Big facts. Big facts. What do you think the equivalent for the woman is?
Time.
Elaborate, say more.
So, you know, I think a lot of it is time and attention, and, you know, how much time a guy is willing to spend with you. So, you know, if say you don't have a very high sex drive and he does, and, you know, you're willing to adhere to that. I don't know how to talk about this topic without it being a bit weird. But adhere to that.
Yeah.
Then, you know, perhaps he can maybe take you out a little bit more, or perhaps he could, you know, what's a good example?
Court, seduce.
Yeah, just a little bit more time, effort, just being around. Because at least for me, like, you know, when you love someone and you're with someone, like, you just want to be around them. So yeah. You know, and also, I mean, the sex part kind of comes into that, because you have to be in the same room to have sex anyway. So
very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's interesting because I think a lot of guys, because attention is it's lower stakes than sex.
Yes.
So sometimes the guys can feel like, oh, it's easy she can go and get her male attention if she's not getting it from me without technically crossing the boundaries of the relationship. Whereas the sex thing, it's like, nah, that's a very clear boundary. Do you know
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm inclined to go, I don't.
Like, have you never heard of a girl when she's like, let's say she's been dating a guy and I know, let's say she's had like an off thing and she's gone out with her girlfriends because she's like, I'm just going to go get some male attention because I'm off with him right now.
That happens. But what I'm saying is that I still think the stakes are the same.
Do you? I don't
because
think
I don't think a lot of guys, like if it's really like their girl, like that's my girl. Like I think the male protectiveness comes into it. Like I don't think a guy who like really is with his girl and like that's his girl, you know.
Yeah.
You're not going out and getting all this attention from other dudes. So I think it is kind of just as much of a boundary cross.
I think I agree in that sense. Of course, guys are going to be more protective of that. But what I mean is, like, for example, a guy and a girl, they could be out together at an event. She could go to the bar to get a drink and a guy hits on her. That's male attention.
Right.
So it's much easier to get attention without crossing the boundary of the relationship.
Yes.
And because the thing is, girls can get attention even when they're not seeking it.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas a guy doesn't get sex if he's not seeking it.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
He's
not getting that physical intimacy.
Yeah.
So I think that's why there's like, I think sometimes it can feel that it's easier for her to get away with. That sounds kind of contentious, but it's easier for her to get something that she wants in the relationship outside the relationship without crossing the boundary compared to him.
I see what you're saying.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Because I think guys, I'm not saying some guys don't, but a lot of the time if guys are like pursuing women, it's not for their attention, it's for the physical intimacy.
Yes, yeah.
But sometimes girls will just want the attention. They'll get the attention like, well, I didn't cheat on my boyfriend, so...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's an interesting one.
It is. Yeah, I'm going to have to think about that for a while.
We're going to play a game. We're going to play the red, the red flag, green flag game?
Yes, yeah.
So red flag. So I'm going to say something. For those who don't know, I'm going to say a behavior. I'm going to say if it's either a red flag, amber, or green flag. See what Christine thinks. So first thing.
Amber's a new one.
Yeah, because I feel like red flag sounds... There's some things that are...
So the negotiables.
Or kind of more like something to keep an eye on, but isn't like, this may be a reason not to...
Make or break, okay.
Yeah, not to date them. And like, not every red flag is like a write-off, but red flag is like, if I wasn't going to pursue this would be a very strong reason why.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Okay, first one. So you've been talking to a guy, asked you out on a date. First date is a coffee date. Is that red, green, or amber?
Green.
Green flag?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they just want to see you and spend time with you. Like, I just think that's kind of perfect. Like, you don't know someone you've never met before.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have. Maybe you met in public, but like today, chances are you probably didn't.
Yeah.
And I just think that's like, it's perfect. Like battleground. That's not the word I want to use, but like it's the perfect start because, okay, how much are you investing? 3-4 quid.
Yeah.
You're in public, so for the girl's part, you're going to feel safe, right? And they're not too much at stake. Like the guy hasn't invested a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Chances are there's no alcohol. So,
very true.
Chances of her getting drunk and then them having sex and then her me tooing him a week later goes down as well. So
me tooing him a week later.
We all hear it all time and time again.
So funny.
There's footage and she was well into it, and then a week later she says, "Well, I was drunk, so it wasn't consensual." So I just think the stakes are a lot lower. And I just think that's perfect for a first date.
I completely agree. What would you say to the women who say, no, if he's going to take me out on a date, like he has to make a certain threshold of investment to spend
Why? Who
time
are you?
with me?
Are you the queen?
That's a good point.
Why?
No? Maybe it's like,
perhaps he has a certain lifestyle.
Yes.
And you're after that. Make that clear. Say, look, I'm a selfish bitch. I'm a gold digger. I like money. If you want me, you need to put your money on the table. But be real. Don't say it's about my value or anything like that. No. Every single human being has the same innate value. We're all here. We're all people. Like, we all have the same value, to at least to me. In like materialistic things is a different thing, and if you want to equate your value to that, be honest about it. So I
agree.
I think if you're looking for love, why do you need that? And also, if he is, say, like a 6-figure earner or whatever, and he can do that, and it's like, well, he has the money, so he could.
Yeah.
Like, but why straight away? I just think that's like, that just really shows what you're after. Like, you don't want to get to know him if it has to be in a rooftop bar under a golden chandelier. Like, really? Like,
I think it's funny because I had someone on yesterday who was like, minimum requirement for a guy to take her out on the first date is £500.
huh?
£500.
That is rent.
Even King's like, nah, that's too much. That's out of order. Everybody's like, nah. And I was just like, why? Like, just justify. I completely agree with everything you're saying. And the thing is, this is what I said to her as well. I think I understand about having standards, and people have different standards and preferences. And yeah, some women care about the lifestyle that a man can provide. And so they go, okay, this threshold is to show whether you are that kind of man, because that's the kind of man I want.
At least be upfront about it.
Yeah, be upfront about it.
Because I have nothing wrong with women who like lifestyle. Like,
yes,
the issue I have is when they try and equate their desire for materialistic lifestyle to their human value. You know, who are you?
Yeah.
And also, that's the whole idea of, you know, I think it comes down to a really sinister type of narcissism, because if you're equating your human value to materialistic possessions, that means you believe that there's a hierarchy of human value, which means you don't see all people as the same.
Yeah.
And that scares me, because people who can see themselves, like, obviously we can look at this differently. For example, say men, like, there's a hierarchy of like strength, and say for females there's like a hierarchy of like prettiness, these kind of things, right?
Yes.
But like at the core of it, inside all of our value, I believe we're all on this same, you know, we're all on the same planet. We're all born, we all die, like we're in it together. So for you to say, well, I'm a high value woman, so I deserve all of this, and he should pay all of this on the first date. Whoa, that is a scary chick right there, because that means she believes some people are up here, some people are down here. Like, that's a very dangerous, that's how dictators are born. You need to be careful of people like that.
Careful first. She's asking for money on the first date, she might be a dictator. Yeah, I think as well, I think the requirement for it, for her time, it makes it seem very transactional. And if you're like, hey, this is the cost of my time to go on a date. If you're going to date me, this is how much it costs. It just makes you sound, it sounds a little bit like an escort. It sounds a little bit like, yeah, you have to spend this if I'm going to go on a date with you.
Yeah.
And I also think, if I'm being honest, I think if a girl likes a guy, that's not going to matter that much.
No.
Like, if she's saying, oh, if he has to take me on a date, he has to spend this much. I'm like, you don't have genuine desire for him.
Yeah, it's all about recognizing what you want. And as I say, you know, some people don't look for love, especially in today's day and age. Some people aren't really after love. Because the truth about love is that love is work. Love is effort. And a lot of people don't want that. That's fine. But you need to know that about yourself, because otherwise you could really hurt someone. I
think they want all the good without the work. Because they do want love.
But that's not love.
What do you mean?
All the good without the work, that's not love. Love,
I don't think
love is
it's a fantasy.
Yeah, it's the ideal. It's the fantasy of love. But I think true love isn't a feeling. I think it's work. It's a duty.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
I agree.
So
I want to talk about the value before we move on. And I completely agree with you. We all have innate value, but I think there's two types of value that we all have as individuals.
Yes.
There's the self-value that we have for ourselves as human beings, as sentient beings, as spiritual beings.
Yeah.
But then there's also the value we provide to said market of whatever environment we're talking about.
Of course.
So it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like if I'm trying to sell you a handbag and I say the handbag is worth 10 grand, but you're only willing to pay 2, what's the value of the bag?
Oh, you're talking numbers now. I don't do numbers.
We don't know.
No.
We don't know. Because it's not been agreed upon, right?
Right.
But then if I, you know, let's say we negotiate, you're like, oh, I'll pay 4 for it. I'm like 8. And then let's say we agree on 6.
6, yeah.
So officially, I've sold you the handbag at 6.
Okay.
Okay, what's the value of the bag now?
6.
Exactly. Because there's been an exchange,
yeah,
right? An agreement. So there's the individual value that we have as human beings.
Yeah.
but there's also a value that we have to whatever market, and the value that is, or how that's determined, is by us and the market.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of see it like
You see what I'm saying?
it's dimensional, isn't it? It's like we all have this kind of like in like this like floaty plane of existence where it's like we're all these sentient beings or whatever, and it's like in this space, the like unmanifested space, it's all equal, right?
100%.
However, when it manifests in whatever form that may be, whether it's the dating market, whether it's, say, I don't know, gold, or you know, a competition, a sports competition, a beauty competition, it depends. You know, the value changes as it manifests in the real world. So yeah, I mean, I completely, it's like what I said, you know, if you're talking about like in the dating place, like women's value, a lot of it comes down to like how pretty you are initially anyway, that first attraction. And then for guys, it might be, well, how tall you are, how strong you are. And a lot of it for a lot of people is how much money do you have, or how much potential do you have to make money? So yeah, but that's why I talk about the awareness of it, because it's like, okay, well, like if you can admit that you see value manifested in money, that's fine. But at least you recognize that. Whereas if you're automatically like, well, I see myself like this, so I deserve this. That's where I say it gets a bit dangerous, because they're not recognizing like the unmanifested space.
Yes, no.
If that makes any sense to anyone.
I get that. I get what you're saying. We got you, girl. We got you. Next thing. Red or green flag or amber, he's a mummy's boy.
Huh? He's a what? Mummy's boy.
Yeah.
Define, what does that mean?
Let's just say that he, you know, he'll...
Because I saw a video earlier and it was like a college boy. I say college in the American sense. He was like in a American football thing.
Yes.
And it's like the girl like jumps on him and like hugs him, and she's got her legs around him.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, like that's quite sweet. And then you find out it was his mum.
Oh my gosh, that's so weird. That's so weird.
No, I literally saw that this morning and I was like, nah.
That's okay. No, okay, that's weird. That's a different. That's a territory I don't want to go to. No, okay. So when I say mummy's boy, I mean definitely not that. Definitely more like let's say he always asks for opinion for him to do something. If he's gonna do something, she's like, I don't think you should do it. He doesn't do it. Like she very much has. She has a level of influence into the decisions and how he conducts himself in his life.
Amber, because I think that's good. Because it's good to have a parent that you turn to for advice, whether it be mother or father. Yeah. Or a parental figure, someone you look up to as a mum or a dad, and you go to them for advice and you very much take their advice on board. The reason I say amber is because, like everything, there's nuance to it, there's levels to it. So it's like when you have to be able to recognize when is that perhaps preventing him from succeeding. Yes. Because, again, we'll bring Jordan Peterson back up. The GOAT, we have to bring him back up.
We love him.
He talks about the archetype of the overbearing mother and the devouring mother. You know, the evil archetype of the mother is the mother who doesn't allow her son to go out and take on the world. Right. So I think that's why I say amber, because in context, it can change between a mother who encourages her son to take on the world and a mother who doesn't. So it all depends the kind of advice that's being given, the context that it's in, and why it's being given. Yeah. So
100%. I completely agree.
And he needs to be able to, that's why I say amber, because he needs to be able to recognize perhaps if that overbearing mother archetype is present. Because if he doesn't realize it, that can present problems for the relationship.
Exactly. And I also think, especially when he comes of age, right? Which is, when I say that, he is seen as a young adult. Yes. That he can make his own decisions, and even he can make the decision against his mother's advice if he thinks that's the right cause. Yeah, I mean, that's the ultimate sort of circle of life, isn't it? Especially with the mother-son dynamic. You know, the mother is, there's this little baby, and then it's a little boy, and you know, you sort of, you're building him up, and then one day that boy's a man, and perhaps one day, you know, you're the little frail thing, and he then becomes your... The relationship changes,
yeah, it's a shift in the hierarchy, isn't it? So it's like, that's why it's amber, because it's like, is that circle of life happening? Or is it being prevented?
Yes, yeah, I hear that. Next one. He loves Andrew Tate.
How much, Amber?
Let's say he loves him. Like, he watches a lot of his content, consumes a lot of his content.
Fine, it's kind of impossible, especially if you're in the red pill space, not to consume a lot of his content. I definitely get a load of his reels come up.
Yeah.
But it's like how far, you know.
Where's the line for you? Like, what part of his content you're like, yeah, if a guy's like up to here, that's great. But if
so there's no
on
line
this...
like that for me, because to me it's how they form opinions. So everyone has their own opinions. I don't have a problem with what opinions you have, but at least have some. So if you're just, I love him because I love him, but you can't tell me why you love him, and you can't tell me what you might agree or disagree with, because no one agrees with everyone point blank.
No.
So it's like, you need to have a level of substance to you to be able to tell me like, oh, I love him and here's why. And you also need to be able to have the depth to tell me you can see why other people might not.
Yes.
Because if you can't, you're just completely unaware of the real world, and you don't understand that not everyone agrees with everything everyone says. Even if you agree with literally 99.9, fine. But can you tell me why? Can we have a conversation about it?
Yes.
And can you handle that some people might not have that opinion? So it's all about, do you have the awareness to talk about it? Guys, I have a problem with people who have opinions and can't see why they have them.
I think how you know is when, because a lot of people just regurgitate what they love to hear online.
Yeah.
And then so the second you interrogate it, it's kind of like,
do you know why you think that, or do you think it because you've been told it?
Exactly. And I think because we all have, I think the real test is because we all have different experiences and have different perspectives on things, right? And so they should be able to say it in their own words, right? But if they're literally just saying it in whoever's words it was, right? Without being able to say it in their own words and why, that's when it's like, you're just regurgitating.
Yeah, I think I made a bit of a joke on Twitter. I think Pearl posted about it, and she was like, I was telling her about when I met my partner. Yeah. And like a little test I did. I'd like to mention, it was a 2-stage test, all right? I didn't start with Andrew Tate, but Andrew Tate was on there. The first test was, did you get the jab? Okay, that was the first stage. And then the second stage was, and there were levels to that as well. I said, did you get the jab? How many and why? Yeah. And then the next part was, do you like Andrew Tate? And a lot of people took it as, oh, well, she just loves Andrew Tate, and her man basically is a bumlick to Andrew Tate. It's like, no. First thing I'm seeing is, are you a compliant individual? If so, this is the first question, which you might have to cut out, I'm aware.
Go for it.
YouTube. But, did you get the jab? If so, why? Can you tell me why? And did you get how many? And if so, why? Right? Yeah. I want to see the depth to you, because to me, that was a very telling time of people's compliance levels. Yes. And in a man, I particularly want a man who does not comply with everything that a government authority says. Yes. We won't get into that. It's a very deep conversation. The second part of the test with Andrew Tate. The reason I chose to ask that question is because he's a very prominent, or at least was a very prominent individual at the time. And to me, it was quite telling if a guy was just trying to sleep with you, because this was when... Now they say about 25% of young women actually like Andrew Tate, right?
Yeah, more than people realize.
This was before that, so this was when he was very much, he's a misogynist, and like most girls you would ask, I hate him, and there was all these videos, I'm gonna peg Andrew Tate, all of this stuff, right? Yeah. So I was like, it's quite easy to tell if a guy is just trying to get in your pants if when a girl asks, do you like Andrew Tate? He goes, oh no, and I was looking for that buzzword, misogynist, because I thought, if he says he's a misogynist, he's either a simp and he's just trying to get in my pants, and he probably does like Andrew Tate and he's just saying he doesn't because he's assuming that because I'm a girl, I don't. Yep. Or he really doesn't like Andrew Tate, in which case I'm just like...
You don't have the right values. I get you.
I'm like, because I do like him and I agree with a lot of the stuff that he says. Now, I don't need to be with someone who agrees with everything he says, but I do need to be with someone who can see why I like him, because to see why I like him means you can see my values. Yes. So yeah, I mean, when my partner answered those questions, he answered like a real person, which was a green flag, because when I said Andrew Tate, he went, I like some of the things he says. I don't really agree with everything he says. He told me why. Yeah. And it was just a really interesting perspective, because for him, a lot of it was, he doesn't like the whole like worship thing.
Yes.
And because a lot of people worship him, he doesn't
He's
like
a
the
Messiah.
connotation. Yeah, he
He's a
doesn't like the
Messiah.
connotations that come with that. So that was
Yes.
obviously a green flag for me because I'm like, he's actually thought about this stuff. He's not just a follower, and he's not just trying to get in my pants. So,
Yeah, 100%. It's funny, I had to debate the topic of Andrew Tate on BBC Radio last week.
Really?
Yeah. With someone who is a very strong feminist, I'll say.
The fun ones.
And they're like, oh, like, he's like, he's become so popular for young men, it's so dangerous. And, I just said, well, the reason he's become so popular is because it's a representation of the lack of strong male leadership that the West has. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I like him, because I think he's absolutely necessary right now.
That's what it is. You may not like him, but he's necessary.
He's necessary for the balance. The pendulum has to swing back, and he's weighing the pendulum back down.
It's so
where
true.
It's gone so far left. He's sort of bringing it back to.
It's true.
Because you need one extreme to fight the other extreme, right? You can't have someone middle ground and come in and try and fix everything, because it's never going to work. Yeah. You have to be able to reach up and get the pendulum from all the way over.
It's true. I'm the middle ground. You pass through me, and then you get to the other side. I'll claim that middle ground part. Next one. He asked to split the bill on the first dinner date.
Fine.
Good? No?
Yeah. Green.
Okay.
Doesn't bother me. Doesn't affect me.
Green, not amber?
I just don't see an issue with it. I don't. Yeah.
Would you say you have quite traditional values, though? Quite conservative
I don't know.
values?
Quite conservative, yeah. But it's like, how traditional can I be? I was born in the year 2000.
I mean, for our time, I guess. I mean, even women who don't say they're conservative still want a guy to pay.
Yeah.
First date.
Yeah. I personally I guess from the way I was raised, like if friends' parents were like taking us out, like my mum and dad would always give me cash, like give it to their parents. Like I just, I have been raised in the modern world. I have been raised in a time where like I work. So I just think I can pay, so fine.
Okay, fair enough. I hear that. I like that. Next one. Has a body count of over 50.
How old are they?
Mid-20s. You're 22, right? How old's your partner?
20.
Let's say mid-20s.
I don't know. Amber doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. But it's amber for a reason, so why amber?
Yeah, it's amber because I've had an experience where some guys, or a guy, is very sexually orientated.
Okay.
On like, the only way I can describe it is like, it's very liberal. So the view of sex has no meaning, and as in they don't see it from the female side. Yeah. Because I'm fine with a guy who's had a promiscuous past, but still sees the value of sex and at least understands the risk, sacrifice, the level of sacredness to it to a female. Yes. I have a problem if that body count translates to they have a very liberal view of sex. Right. Because I personally can't fuck with people who don't understand the value of sex. Because sex isn't just sex, right? Because if sex was just sex, none of us would be here.
True.
So there is a level to it. I understand there is a pleasure side to it, which is fine. But just for me personally, I would prefer someone who understands the value of it.
I completely hear you, and I agree with you. The two things I would say to that is, one, if he has a body count of 50 in his mid-20s, he most likely has a liberal view of sex, because if he had a conservative view of sex, he probably wouldn't have racked up that much body count. Yeah. And two, the other thing is, what about, we know men can disconnect emotions from sex.
Yeah, that's why it's a bit amber, because that's what I sort of presumed with this scenario is the disconnect. Yeah. So that's why the view of the sex itself rather than the number is important to me, because I understand that guys can really switch off from it. Yeah.
I'd almost even say maybe his view on sex in terms of value for women could be, okay, would he be okay if his partner had an excessive body count? I think if he
Yeah, that's the problem I have. So if he has a
Yeah.
50 body count and then says like, well, it's fine and I don't care if you have, I'm like,
Whoa. Yeah.
what do you
And
mean
it's
you
a double
don't care
standard, but
if
it's
I
true.
have? Like,
It's true, yeah.
I would much rather him have a body count of 50 and say, but you can't,
100%.
than
I think most guys do.
I have 50 and like I don't like guys who, there are some guys out there that see girls with lower body counts as like, oh, well, she's going to be boring. She doesn't know what she's doing. And like, they would rather a girl who's really experienced. I'm like,
Yes, if he's looking for
Goodbye.
fun though.
oh,
I-
yeah.
I think if he's looking for
But
something
there
just casual,
really are some guys who like, even in their long-term relationship,
Oh,
they want that.
really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's very liberal. It's very, look at people like Destiny. Like,
Oh yeah, that's
okay,
true.
so
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Like, it's a very clear political indicator to me how people view sex.
Yeah.
Because like, there are some dudes that like sex is just sex, and they see it like that way, even for women.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't.
Yeah. I think it's different. I think I disagree with that, to be fair.
I would think the majority of guys,
I think
at
they
least
do.
the men I've interacted with,
And I think Destiny is a very exceptional case.
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I hear that. Next one. If he's had sex with a guy before.
What?
Crimson red flag. Is it a crimson? You say, oh, maybe it's a green
If
flag.
he's had sex with a guy before,
Yeah, maybe he tried it and he was like, it's not for me. I like women now.
how did oh no.
Oh no!
How did he try?
How dare you?
How did he just fall into it? Like, what?
Yeah, he just tried it. He was like, nah, I tried it, but nah, I didn't. He didn't like it. He was the giver.
Kit, I really don't care what side of the coin he was on. I'm sorry. Red. Okay, like, fine. For you. I'm not even going to say anything else.
That's it. Just red. Nothing else needs to be said.
Fine for you.
You're like,
Not
I'm happy for you.
I'm happy for you. Please don't come near me.
Lose my number.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I love that.
I can't believe you asked me that.
Listen, we have to know. We have to know
I
because
guess some people are like, they just don't. I literally don't even know how to talk.
Okay, wait. What if he's kissed a guy? You be quiet. Stop insinuating. What if he's kissed a guy?
Good for you, mate.
Still like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, a big turn off for me. Sorry, like, doesn't mean we can't get along.
We can be friends.
We can be friends.
We can be friends.
We can be friends. But we're not there anymore.
I'll talk to you about guys I'm interested in. Shit.
Fine. And
You're
they,
my gay best friend.
yeah, I mean,
No, I hear that. It's funny because for even women who say they're very liberal and modern and stuff,
yeah.
that is an issue for them as well.
Really? That's really interesting.
100%.
That's really interesting.
Because, and I always say this because it's like, why do guys care about a girl's sexual history? I'm like, well, you care about a guy's sexual history just in a different way. Because if
wow. I've never actually, I would have thought that the liberal women would have been fine with that.
No.
Wow.
No.
Have you asked that question?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's really, really
This is
interesting.
another thing that
I'm gonna
I
look
had
into
to
that. That's
have a
really
debate
interesting.
on with this feminist woman last week.
What did she say? Did you ask her?
She had no comment.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
She was like, it was like, because literally I said that. I was just
I
like,
guess
yeah.
it's the implication. People are a bit scared to say, no, I don't like that, because then it's like in the day and age we live in, you're a homophobic. It's like, maybe that because she's a feminist, she didn't want to come across like that. But it's like, no. Like, you can, it's completely different. Like, I don't have a problem with you doing it.
Yeah.
I just don't want that.
But also I think it was part of, if she agreed with me, it looks like she's conceding and she can't do that.
When you're
in
on
like
the
a
mainstream,
public-
I've
Yeah,
had this
on the mainstream,
experience,
it's always the case.
unfortunately. Like, even the mainstream sides of things that try and present like they're a bit quirky and rough around the edges, they're all the same. Like,
Yeah.
they can't agree with you on camera or on radio or anything, because then it's like, oh, well.
Yeah. I managed to get her in the end to agree with me or something. Which is
Score.
good. I know. I was like, great. But it's funny because for me, and I'm always about trying to build a bridge, even if we disagree on things.
100%.
Do you know what I mean? But yeah, sometimes these spaces are contentious.
I was on a
People are just trying to
really
get points.
like small starting out podcast a couple of months back.
Yeah.
And I was told I was going to be on with this radical feminist. And I thought, right, here we go. And I talk to her all the time.
No way.
What's really annoying, she's so well spoken, she's so intelligent, and she has so many facts.
Okay.
Which is annoying because I'm like, most feminists aren't actually that well equipped, and you are.
Yeah.
But I love it because it's like, okay, I learned something from her. I can understand how different people think. And also, I learnt that actually, I agree with a lot of radical feminism.
You heard it here first, guys. Christine Grace, she agrees.
On the side of, what are they called? They have a name. There was like a transgender person or something who said TERFs.
Oh, TERFs,
Punch
yes.
TERF. And I didn't realise that there was actually, I thought all feminists agreed with that. And she was like, no. She was like, I'm a feminist who doesn't believe that biological men are part of feminism. And I was like,
spaces, yeah.
Oh. So we found this like common ground, and like she's great. I talk to her all the time. She gives me a lot of information as well that I can use in my videos, because I'm like, I want to hear her facts so I can debunk her facts. Yeah. Because I'm like, if anyone's gonna have the comeback, it's her. So let me ask her first.
100%. I mean, she's helping you level up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
up.
no, she's great. But yeah, we have completely different views. I've got some really liberal friends, but it's good to have people you disagree with, because you don't learn anything if you're always surrounded by people you agree with.
I completely agree. Last one. If he's been cheated in every relationship he's been in.
He has cheated, or
no, he's been cheated.
He's been cheated.
Yeah.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Like, I don't want to say green because, like, I don't know. I don't want to be like green because then it's kind of like, oh, I love that for you. You've been cheated on.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not a red flag.
Yeah. No, not even a bit.
I feel like there's some hidden context here that I'm missing. Does that imply something? If he's been cheated on a lot, are you suggesting that implies that there's a problem with him?
Well, I'm asking you, what does that imply to you?
Oh, nothing.
Okay, cool.
I just think that's heartbreaking. I think that's sad.
Okay. If a girl told you she'd been cheated in every relationship, would that imply anything to you?
A little bit.
Why does it imply from a girl, not a guy?
Okay, now you've got me thinking.
That's what I'm here for.
If a guy has been cheated on in every single relationship,
what does it imply for the girl? What does that tell you?
Just perhaps that there might be issues there.
Okay.
So, for example, we spoke earlier about if a girl doesn't have a high sex drive. You know, when you hear of a guy cheating, it's often perhaps he's not sleeping with his girlfriend as much. Mm-hmm. So he's going and looking for it elsewhere.
Yep.
So that's why when I hear if a girl's been cheated on all the time, I'm kind of like, my first thought is like, well, were you sleeping with him?
Yeah. And I think that's a fair assessment, but you don't make that implication with guys.
No, because if a female cheats, it's very different. Like, it's for different reasons. It's not for...
Yeah, I don't disagree.
At least I think for the majority of women, they're not going out and sleeping with someone else because they just want to sleep with someone else. Like, yeah. I think it's a level of... There's a lack of emotional connection in the relationship. There's a lack of attention, a lack of intimacy. And she's gone out and found that elsewhere and cheated.
Yep.
So, and now that I say you've got me thinking, because now I'm like, okay, well, if the guy has been cheated on, then perhaps there is a lack of emotion there for him. Like, he's not, but at the same time, like, I still don't quite see it as a red flag of something being wrong, because I think, like, it's quite a controversial view. I just still think it's way more an indication on the girl's part, because it takes so much more for a girl to cheat. That's why I just say, like, it's heartbreaking.
But then, isn't that even more of a reason for at least to be an amber flag? Because
perhaps amber, like, I would like to...
Because if it takes so much more for girls to cheat, and every relationship they've cheated on him, it's like, I know it takes a lot for a woman to cheat. So
Yeah.
for every woman you've been with to cheat on you, there's something happening.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. And in my head, cognitively, it's all adding up. But just in my gut, I'm still kind of like, no, man, that's so deep. Like, he's been cheated on every single relationship. Like, I just think it's
It
a
is
lot more
deep.
common
Of
that
course it's
guys
deep.
cheat. So when I hear of a girl who's been cheated on a lot, like, I'm kind of like, well,
I hear that, but I'm saying it's exact that reason why it's more of a red flag if he's been cheated on the most than a girl. Because like you said, like you could be, okay, well, maybe she's always chosen to be with a guy who's high value, fuckboy, whatever. And it's like, those guys are going to cheat a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
So that actually may not have anything to do with her, though I say it would, because you're obviously choosing the type of guy.
Yeah.
But for a guy, if every girl you cheated,
girl.
that's even, it's more of a red flag if he's always been cheated on than if she has.
Yeah, because it takes so much for the girl
Exactly.
to go out and cheat. So what's happening there?
I think that's a red flag. I don't think that's amber. I actually think that's red.
If a guy has been cheated on by everyone.
Yeah, if he's been in 3 relationships and every girl has cheated on
single
him,
one
I'll
has
be like,
cheated.
there's something going on. Because
I think
women
I've
actually cheat
just
at the same
learned
rate.
something because I'm starting to see.
You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying.
Women technically actually cheat at a similar rate to men.
Oh, I know. I
But
just mean that you hear about it.
Yeah,
on
but
the
it takes
flip
a lot
side.
more.
And women don't talk about it. Women won't come out and say, "Yeah, I've cheated on everyone I've been with." Like,
Yeah, of course. I don't think guys will too. Mm,
maybe to their guy.
I think they're more
friends.
likely to, but I don't. I mean,
think-
most
yeah,
people don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
disclose it, do they?
No, I do think. Yeah, if a guy has been cheated on by every single girl he's been with.
It's every relationship.
Yeah, because also it shows you the level of authority that he has, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
So, like, if every single girl he's ever been with has gone out and cheated on him, like, he can't be much of a leader, right?
No.
Like, for every girl to not... Like, I think it's impossible for a girl to cheat on a guy. Even if, like, say the emotional connection is lacking. Like, if he's your man, like, you look up to him, he's the leader. Like, you ain't going out and doing that. There is no way.
You know what? She may not even love him, but she respects him. She ain't doing it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
for every girl to have cheated, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe, because that's quite bad, isn't it? Because then it's like, oh, like he can't even keep one woman in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Final thoughts. We're going to end on that. Do you have anything you want to chat about? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts?
Yeah.
No, not really. I've definitely thought about things I haven't thought about today.
That's what we love. That's why we're here, guys. That's why we're here. Well, listen, we appreciate you sharing your energy with us
thank
today.
you so much for having me back.
If people want to see you and find you, where can they find you?
Yeah, go check out my YouTube channel, Christine Grace Smith. I have a series called Debunking the Lunacy where I talk about all of the issues I see in society, and I tell you basically the flip side of the coin, the side that the mainstream media doesn't particularly want you to know. I'm working on some exciting things, digging a bit deeper into that.
Nice.
Why do they not want you to know? What could they be hiding? But yeah, go subscribe to my channel if you want to check it out and see all the good things that are to come. And my Instagram is the same, Christine Grace Smith.
100%. Well, thank you, guys. Go show us some love. Go like her stuff. Go give her a follow. Definitely go check her out as well. And yeah, we want to be balanced human beings. So even if you do swing one way or the other, it's definitely good to, you know, expand your range of consummation of content. So yeah, we appreciate you for coming on. So thanks for coming on, Christine.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. And I will see you in the next episode.